Thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, for coming on in each and every day. We'll do the same without wasting a single second of your time. Bada bing, bada boom, we go into the charts. Let's see, is the volume okay? Because I can't hear my wavelength. It's like it updated and totally messed up everything or something. A wavelength not acting proper here. Hold on. Hello, test. All right. So let's see if this is properly volume adaptive here. Test. All right. So Bitcoin still going sideways for the low liquidity weekend, right around here at that 50,948 mark of a range here from December of 2021. Do we flip this into the support and keep going higher to a next node up above at the 54K region? Or do we start to head back lower and retest some support? We did break out of this 886 of this diagonal pitch fan we've been in for over a year. So this is something novel to break beyond the 886 of that. We rejected off of it twice, 3 times, and now we are starting to break above it. So does the bullish narrative continue? Let's go look at the liquidity. What is the liquidity? Well, people lock their liquidity into the charts to get burned to a crisp by the market maker for not using a stop loss, and we get to see what those crispy characters are. So let's do it now. In the last 24 hours, 20 million in short liquidity taken, as well as 18 million in longs, and in the last 4 hours, basically a million in short and longs, and 12 hours you have the even Steven on both. Let's go look at what we were saying from yesterday before we go any further. We were talking about that possible rejection from yesterday and coming down to a level, and we did a certain level and stopped. We didn't go further than a certain point, and guess what? It went right to that level. So we were looking at the idea of coming off of a rejection of the 786 and then watching for this deviation level down to here. We came back to that 50,626 and started to come back up off of that level. Oops. So projection maintained. So do we come back here and we can make this entire thing here and look at this as a potential here on a regular pocket retrace level? We're coming to the 618 of that zone. Is this going to be a larger reclamation of this point of control to go higher, or are we going to start to pull back into some of the liquidity below? Let's go take a look at the liquidity some more on the heat map and see what lurks above and below. Currently you have a huge amount up at that 52.7 mark. Do they go and stab up to this? Tomorrow is False Move Monday, and we are down a pool of liquidity for New York as they are on holiday. So do they come up to here, fatigue off of some of the shorts one last time and head back lower, or not? Let's go to the higher time frame to see what type of pools lurk below and above price. 3 billion at that 52.9 mark, so a large amount up there, and you got kind of a gap from that 48K region. So coming down, if you were to gap beneath this, then you would start to be putting in some lows. And yeah, you have a few billion down at that 41K mark. They accumulated for quite some time, so those are likely protected positions. So do you come back to that 2 billion at 46K or not? That is the question. Let's go to a different representation of the liquidity here on the daily time frame. My eye is kind of messed up right now, so I got a swollen eye. So if we look at currently up above in the 52.5 region, you can take this high leverage folks up at 52.5 Down below you have a large amount at that 50,007 mark. If you start to zoom out to the weekly time frame, you have a large amount coming down to that 47K range, still 800 million up at that 53 mark. So do we head up to these regions or not? It's kind of an ambiguous place. Currently there's more located at that 52.3 region, so we could be starting to squeeze up to that. If we look at the open interest is remaining steady. You're getting some longs and shorts interested in this level, but we are having a little bit of a divergence. So are we going to see a pullback? Let's go take a look and see who's watching. Shout out to anyone out there in YouTube land. So let's go ahead and take a look at the higher time frame and throw on our oscillators real quick. Okay. Link in the description for more, momentummaster.info. Scroll down to features, toggle at your leisure. You can see all the components as they come together or read about each one. Stochastic array trend lines, baselines, and dynamic alerts to your phone and more on your own accord. So let's go ahead and take a look. So on the daily time frame, we are fading off of the thin boy baseline. We had a sequential event here reaching the end of a daily sequence. We had one here pull back, had one here bounce. So are we going to get some sort of pullback at this level? So if we start to fade off of this baseline and close the candle out to the downside, even to the 49K region, this will bring the baseline lower and start to put in a cross down potential on the daily time frame. You got the Williams on the precipice of a cross down event, the money flow above the RSI suggestive of fatigue on the money flow. If you come to the 3-day, the 3-day just closed in an indecision doji, a bearish doji. So does that mean we are going to pause and start to retrace back down on the 3-day time frame? You got 2 days and 10 hours on that. We did put in a nice level for that 3-day close, but it was beneath this 3-day candle here at 52.6. So does that mean we fall back into the range for support and at the point of control at 47.5 for a potential SR flip boost in liquidity? The only way to continue higher is to go lower and garner your forces, get reinforcements, and get the surge up. Coming to the 22, the treasured 22. I hope the audio is working fine. 22 has already had the cross down event because it front runs the daily. We have this cross down event and the baseline's failing. Are we going to see a suppression of the price? Stochastic already came down. The Williams is flashing 2 alarms here. Are we going to get this cascade suppression of the stochastic by the Williams, coming 5.1% away to 49K? Coming to the 12-hour. 12-hour also has the cross down event that we were looking at the other day. Does this start to come down? We had this nice buyback wick on the 12-hour time frame, trying to hold this point of control and flip it into support. So we were possibly on our way to go up to the 52K region. Still in a bullish narrative overall. You have this huge rise up. So even just having a pause does not necessarily put a bearish tone on things, but we did have a nice run up. A slight pullback could be in order. If you go to the 12-hour stochastic coming down here, you could have this Williams cascade and suppression of that. Money flow beneath the RSI suggestive of money flowing back into the asset, or it could be the rare occasion where the RSI meets the money flow down below. Coming to the 6-hour time frame was putting in some bearish divergence on the money flow, the RSI, and more. Williams trying to hold this range, but could be putting in a suppressive play on the takeoff of the 6-hour time frame. Does the weekly candle close out strong, or do we come back to this wick at 50,600 and below to the cloud at the 6-hour time frame? Okay. 4% away down to that 49.6 region, and the liquidity below. Coming to the 4 had that nice bounce off of the cloud here yesterday after we said it would come down to a certain level. And do we see this continuation or not? Currently getting a possible rejection off the 618 at 51.976. Do we get this to follow through to the downside? You have on the 4-hour time frame also the cross down event here on the 4-hour. Does this suppression of the baselines continue, or do we start to reclaim it at this point in control to go higher? All if-then statements here. We had hidden bullish on the money flow here from this low to this low, and a lower low on the money flow. So are we getting hidden bullish continuation on the 4-hour here? This could be possible as the money flows in for a burst up to that liquidity here at 52.7. Large amount up there. If we go here, 52.3, 52.5, large amount in that region to justify the move. Coming to the hourly. Okay, so the hourly time frame is putting in, you came back above the cloud here on the hourly time frame here, and the stochastic attempting to come down here with the Williams. Does this get a full hard reset, or do you flip the cloud for support to go higher? You have this overtone of bearishness, which is why we were calling for this downside play yesterday. Does this continue? The cloud has not thinned, which is interesting to note. It is curving in a manner here. Do we get this bounce off of the cloud on the hourly? Coming to the 15. So the 15-minute cloud, ambiguous as it is a lower time frame, and kind of oscillating between that, possibly getting rejection off of some level here. Let's go to total and take a look at the higher narrative for the total cryptocurrency market. So we had previously come up to a level here and had some cross down events. We were looking at a possible pullback. We got it to a level here. This level was a 786 level of the deeper retrace on the daily time frame from 2022. So are we going to see this 786 flipped and go higher to the 886 here, or are we going to reject off it and come down to some support at 1.79 trillion? It's very similar in the case. You have an event here. Last time we had that, we did have a little bit of a pullback here. We had a bounce. So at this level, do we get a little bit of a pullback? On total. Coming to total 3. Total 3 also had a nice rise up to the 1382. Do we come back to these levels for support? We already did that kind of yesterday. So is this getting permission for the alts to rally higher? Bitcoin dominance. If the dominance is looking to drop, which it looks like it might be, on the daily time frame, putting in this cross down event, it could be coming down to here. If the dominance is dropping and the USDT dominance looking to rise, then you could be seeing the people getting kicked into USDT as Bitcoin pulls back. If you go to total 3, this is an ambiguous on both sides path. So if it does get a pullback, then we would be coming down to test this range over here at the $521 billion mark. So as of this moment, it looks like you are holding this range for the confirmation of what Bitcoin is going to do for the weekly candle close. Coming to the crypto bubbles. All right, so on the day, you have Beam, BTT, GRT, RON, Injection, Woo, Render, Algo, Flow, F Phantom, Manta, Say, GNO, ADA. So ADA got a little bit of a bounce here. What's happening with ADA? Let's look at Cardano real quick. ADA, USDT. So the last time we were looking at ADA was back here on October 2023. We held the 236 and we were gone. Boom, all the way up to the 2, retraced back down to a 706. Got access granted to the upside, and we are continuing higher on these fibs. All right, so if we go to a higher time frame to take a look over to the left here, you have some regions that you can come back to in the future over here at 71 cents. That could be where we're headed. You have this cloud on the 3-day that we found support on, and we're possibly coming above the adaptive moving average here on the 3-day time frame. Previously rejection. If we start closing out a 3-day candle above this, your next target for ADA is 71 cents. So this all ties into the narrative of Total 3 and where it wants to go based off of what is happening with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, how are you going to close out the weekly candle? Let's go ahead and take a look at the weekly candle. We'll go on a cleaner chart so we can see more defined here. So the weekly candle had a previous cross down to that 38.8 region. We were looking at that long idea down there and possibly coming up to a rejection point highly up to that 57K mark in total. You have a 706 reaction level at that 53K mark. How does this candle close? Strong, or does it have a half close? Does it close beneath this level? This is a daily support level that we could put it at 50,800. We also have some daily candle closes here that if we close somewhere beneath these, if we close beneath these two, we're likely pulling back further. If we close somewhere in the middle, we could be flipping this area into support and meet with some resistance. You have these weekly candle closes and opens that we could be contending with here on the week. So this weekly candle close is going to be a sign for bullishness or pullback. All right, let's go into the hourly and make an assessment if we can for the moment in time we're at right now. See if we can pull it. We can speculate where it's going to go. So if we get above this point of control and this cloud here, you could be seeing a ABC to the upside here. This could be a pullback and going up to test these levels up here. Some of these 52.571 region coming to that liquidity. We have the liquidity up here to justify that idea. 52.5 has high leverage folks up here. You go to the weekly as well, there's large amounts up in that region. So coming to that, and then how do you react from there? For the time being, at that point, do you start to see a reaction? This is 1, 2, 3 hits to the high and possibly coming lower. We're not going to go that far in advance, but watch out if you're in a short. If you come back above this point of control and come above these levels and negate these ideas, you could be coming up to the liquidity above. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask. We're going to be on our way, short but sweet. So looking at Dixie was getting a little bit of a pullback after going into that gap we were talking about for a while, as it was range bound and starting here and made its way up. We were talking about possibly coming up. We came up to that 50% mark. Do we come back and pull into some high volume nodes before going higher? We could even just come to the super trend here and react off of that. This sell-off wick and this cross down event of the baseline and the 12-hour suggestive of coming down a little bit further to test this range for support and sweep some of these longs off before possibly going higher. Okay, we couldn't make it above the 50% mark, so slight pullback on the dollar at least next week for the start of the week. Coming to NQ. NQ is pulling back to a lot of volume nodes here, all the purple lines, volume nodes. Do we find some support off this 236 to get access back up to the upside, or are we going to start pulling back into these volume nodes and below in that 17K region? That is the question. So the previous area we bounced off of was a high volume node from over here, so we kind of wicked off of this zone to the upside. Do we start to pull back into here, confirm this 236 and go up higher for NQ? That is the question. Let's go see if you have any comments or questions. Hi, what's up, Spragadocious? How's it going? So it looks like the BTC is possibly flipping this hourly cloud and turning this point of control into a sweep up to this level to the $153 million up at 52,770. There's just more up in that region. If we go down to the lower time frames here, 5 minutes. Turn on the liquidity. There's just some 100xers they're grabbing right now for the shorts.
Fatality.
And so they came back into some of the longs, and now they're coming to gobble up the shorts. How far does it continue? Do they come all the way up and take these 50x brethren of them? Liquidity suggests so. Just too much interest in the short here, so you have lots of shorters down here. The net shorters still opening, so until you get no interest in the shorts, then basically they have more fuel to always go grab them. Particularly the 100xers, they will always come back to those guys. Personally, if it's like a genuine move to the upside, there should be a pullback at some point. It's like fine and dandy that we got a nice move to the upside, but a pullback of some kind should be something that we see in times past as well. If you go to the past for reference, there are times where we have just straight bullishness for basically 21 days of upside. So there is rallies like this that occurred, and we had this massive liquidation of the longs first, and it was a massive, huge liquidation event before that happened. So they had that short, the people in the shorts, to squeeze up to there, and they had this previous, even when we went up to here, we had a previous pullback, 10%, and then we went up for another 9 days. But even with the 9 days, we came down for like 4 days. So it was essentially sideways, and then we held sideways for a little bit to go the last length of the way. So it's not always just up, up and away forever. So be careful with every side you're on. So this pull up to the upside here we had for basically 11 days. Does this continue into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or do we start to pull back, at least range bound, into this 49K region and then make our push to 53 and beyond? No need to happen overnight, but one more push to punish the shorts and scare them out before possibly dropping is where my story is, and I'm sticking to it here. All right, any last questions? Let's go check and say bid you adieu. Nope, nothing. All right, on that note, I leave you here, and thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, for coming on in each and every day, and we'll do the same, bringing the fire, the accuracy, the precision, all that fun stuff, and we'll